When you get into a creative flow and you're taking care of yourself, and there's a lot of self-love there, you have a habit of really kind of having almost chaotic energy that goes out in all different ways. That's where you have to bring in resources, tools, mentorship, structure, coaching that helps you funnel it into something that's tangible, that people can understand what you're giving them. People can understand why they need to call you and reach out to you, right? So focus, start to really focus, and this is going to create that success for you on who is your audience? Who are you connecting with? Who do you want to connect with? Who does this make the right sense to? And that's where your content's going to be going to. You don't even really need a website at this point in time with social media being what it is. They can DM you, you can connect. But whatever it is, you just need to focus on not having hundreds of thousand followers. Have 2,000 of the people that you are meant to connect with, because that's going to drive people to you who can successfully take your program and start to implement it in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. So excited for you joining in today. We have an amazing guest in Tessa Arnold. She was awesome. I really enjoyed everything she spoke about today. She really just shared a lot of vulnerability, and she was just an open book and just someone who is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to just embarking on this entrepreneurial journey. Really great. And I'm really appreciative that she jumped on the show to share her experiences with us. So as always, please leave a rating and review on iTunes. It goes a long way for me to continuously get awesome guests like Tessa. So let's jump into the show. Hey, Tessa, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, no, a pleasure is all mine. I'm so excited to have you today. And I want to just jump into all the good stuff that you're doing. I've been doing a little stalking of you. So I've been trying to find out information that's going to help our health coaches out there get their businesses off the ground. And you have a very varied background. So I want to give you a chance to just talk about your origin story. And then I will just jump into some questions right after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background starts in banking. So kind of worked my way up in banking into commercial banking, into global banking, where I was a vice president and was within that career and role and trajectory for about 12 years. So very much homegrown with large financial firms and organizations, and went on to get my project management certification, which is universally recognized, and kind of all different things. Got into the API space, and definitely thriving career within the financial world. And, on all accounts, loved it. I love the structure of it. I love the organization, the just consistency of it. I knew what I was walking into each day. I knew the boxes I needed to check, and I checked them, and I did a good job, and I could walk out. And it just, I don't know, it was great. But I definitely went into a transformative period within my life,
Mhm.
which made me, in a lot of ways, have to pivot, right? And leaving commercial banking was very hard for me, but I had to do it for family matters. And I was at a later time going to pick it up again, which I did. But at that point in time, a year later of being out of it and having so much transpire in my personal life, I had shifted, I had changed.
Mhm.
So I went back into it for a few years, and I'm continuing to do this newfound work that I'm doing on myself. I'm healthier, I'm happier, I'm, working on all the things. And I realized that going back into it is just not, staying in it is not something that's going to sustain me from a fulfillment standpoint long term, that there are other things that are really piquing my passions, my interest. And
Mhm.
so that takes me into the work that I'm doing on myself simultaneously within banking, but then takes me on a journey of fulfillment in entrepreneurship and starting a business with my late ex-husband, and, doing all of these different things. And for a while, I'm, doing them both, right? So I'm spread pretty thin. And then I realized that I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm going to follow those passions, and I embark in entrepreneurship and what that looks like, and then actually start my Ayurvedic health coaching program. on that journey as well because it found me. And I
Hmm.
was like, wow, this is too good. I need to put this out into the world. So that's in a really condensed version. For those that are listening, my full story is kind of out there in a lot of different places, but there was trauma and there was loss and there was identity crisis through
Hmm.
all that process where I was just a human having a human experience like we all do in different degrees, right? But at the core of it, we come to a point in our life where we are feeling stuck, or we're feeling our passions aren't being fueled, or we think we're doing everything right, but the energy's not there.
Hmm.
And the anxiety is there, and the tension, and the sadness, and right, we have to reclaim ourselves and who we are and what we're meant to be doing. So it's kind of like chapter one, chapter two, right? We hit that pivotal point.
Yeah, no, that seems like a very dynamic story, and I'm going to dive into a couple of questions just about that
Yeah, go for it.
because there are a lot of health coaches that right now who are experiencing the same thing. They have, corporate jobs, 9 to 5 jobs, and they're debating about taking that leap. And you said that there were personal issues that did come up that had you jump into that. Curious to see a little bit about that, but also wanted to check, were you always good at business prior, or was this a completely new venture? Because I know that depending on that answer to that question is the leap of faith into the
Right.
entrepreneurial space.
Right. I don't have my degree in business. I studied communication and I enjoy connecting with people.
Hmm.
I put me in a room of a group of people. I very much get that from my father. He passed away when I was 12 and he was a broker associate for a real estate firm, and he would walk into a room with the biggest smile on his face and was so charismatic. And so those are definitely qualities that I inherited, and also values that are at my core, which I found out later. It's a connection to the values that when you're staying true and connected to your values, those are fundamental skills that you have in such a way that are unique to how you put them out there. And if you are operating from a place of your values, success is a given. It just is. And we can talk about that more. So business, not per se. I wasn't like, yeah, I'm a shark. We're gonna get out there and do it. Absolutely not. For those listening, no. There was so much. I'm also not afraid to tell anybody and everybody. There's so much that I don't know. There's so much that I don't know in relationships and life and being a human and business and aspects and coaching. But I will learn. I will be vulnerability is a superpower, and I'll be vulnerable and I'll tell you that I will learn and I'm open to it. And I think that's essential, when you're embarking on anything new, is a little bit of humility, but then also ask yourself the why.
Hmm.
What's the why? That's going to be at your core.
Okay. So before we jump into your why,
Mhm.
it seems like you're very comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
So was that something that you had always had?
Oh,
Because
gosh,
like I said,
yeah.
I'm so fascinated about like those leaps, those people who take just the jump and just say whatever happens, happens. You obviously have confidence, so a confidence does play a role in this as well. So yeah, for going back to, are you always comfortable being uncomfortable? And yeah, how did confidence play into this?
Right. It's interesting. Confidence is a part of me, as I have all the parts of me. I've got anxiety, I've got stress, I've got fear. I love all the parts of me. You have to love all the parts of you. You've got to listen to all the parts of you. Um, Confidence is always one that kind of, myself connects to quite a bit. I've been put in situations throughout my life. I lost my father when I was 12 in a boating accident. And then my brother, when he was 17 in a car accident, we were all very close in a close knit family. So life for me has been a series of, understanding fundamentally that I don't have control over a lot of things. But I'm not a victim of life. I'm the architect of my life, and I have a choice. I always do in how I'm going to show up in it, right? And some mornings that's a little bit more difficult, right? And I don't have necessarily the same amount of motivation, or I need to feel some things that are coming up because that's just such as life, and your emotions are very much a part of you. And then some mornings it's like, let's take this on head on. You jump out of bed and you're ready to go. And hopefully that's the majority of them, but you got to take, the ups and the downs. So
Mm.
I think confidence for me has been something, it's a part of me and it comes and it's there. And then fear will come in and show itself. And I'm like, okay, what do you have to show me right here? Let's talk this through.
Mhm.
What are you trying to protect me from? What are we scared of? And let me, handle this with you. We'll walk hand in hand. So I'm very much in tune with my vulnerability as a human. I stumble, I fall, I say the wrong things, I make mistakes. We all do, but that's part of the beautiful experience about being a human, right? In a sense.
No, that's good. I mean, that's something that I think just on an entrepreneurial journey, people can get a lot from just that perspective and just picking
Right.
up when you fall and without a doubt. So definitely see that you also did the work, that there's it's clear as day.
Mm,
So I congratulate you for that. So when you left, I was curious, what was like the first step that you did?
mm,
Because again, a health coach who's starting out, there's a million different
yeah.
ways to start out. I've had over 200 guests in this particular podcast, and that question always leads to a wide variety of answers, none of which necessarily are 100% right. It works, things work for everything. But yeah, I would love to hear your specific advice. What would you tell a health coach just starting out? What is first thing that they should be focused on?
Yeah, I would ask them, what's your why? What's your intention? Right? It's the intention that's going to carry you through each day. It's not, don't tell me the goal. With the goals are beautiful and we should have goals, but it's the intention with which you move with each day that's going to be your North Star. So you really need to define that and understand that and the why, right?
Hmm.
if if the why is not something that you put into what you put out there every day, because it does need to be every day in a sense, whether it's how you implement and embody this for yourself every day or the content that you're putting out there or how you're relating to your clients, um, that's the reward, right? That's the journey. That's going to get you through the good days and the bad days. That's going to get you through the initial hump when you're building the business. It's the intention and it's the why. So, yes, have the goals, write them down, but do realize it's not okay. I just need to get to the 3 month mark. I just need to get to the 300 client mark. No, it's the one first client, it's the second client, it's the content that you put out there. You're like, this, it speaks to 5 people, the 5 people who are going to sign up for what I'm putting out there because they need it and they can need to cultivate in this life, their life, right? So, really get clear on the intention and the why.
And what was your why coming out of corporate?
I had to, I was put in a position where I was not going to be able to give my usual 110%. I had to take care of my family. And I didn't have to. I could have continued on with that, but I knew it to be true that I needed to take this step back. And with that came a relocation shortly thereafter where I couldn't have been supported by the business model that we had based on the location that I was going to, and taking some time off while that was unheard of for me. I
Mhm.
needed to. I very much needed to. I had small children at the time and I needed to take care of them. So,
So that's a different type of why that I thought that you were referring to, right? So like
yeah.
that's a different,
Yeah.
like, which is a great why, right? Some people
Yeah.
have
Oh,
to make
yeah.
changes out of necessity, and sometimes that's the thing that pushes you out to do what you have to do.
Hmm.
Is it different for a health coach, maybe? Or I mean, of course, they can share the same
Yeah.
thing. You get what I'm kind of saying?
Yeah. So, definitely. So, that was my why then for leaving there, but not my why necessarily for starting my Ayurvedic health
Right.
coaching practice because I was on a retreat. I was on a retreat. The practice of Ayurvedic health found me in a way that the food was there. They had a couple seminars about it. And I was like, interesting, but it was almost like as a passing thought. But the food was fantastic. And I had never felt better than I had felt in that week.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, it could be the fresh air, all the mindfulness practices, or the fact that I'm just in this beautiful environment conducive to health. But then I went back and it stayed with me and it kept coming up. And people were reaching out and I was looking at different things and I missed it so much. So I started to do some studying enough that I went ahead and I said, this is something that I have time for, I can do, and it's very intriguing to me and I'm very curious. So I went on and I actually got my certification, started to implement it in my life, and it changed my life fundamentally. And that is my why, because this is too good and it makes too much sense not to share with other people. And
That's
that was it.
well, I love that because that I think because we grapple with the why a lot, obviously,
Right.
but we grapple more with the niche, right? And
Mm,
what we what you're saying is very powerful because I've heard it a number of times, and I think it's a very excellent point of when people do struggle with this niche thing, right? It's from what you're saying, at least that I'm relaying, is that you just had such an impactful situation and event, and you just absorbed it 100%, and you just had this passion to share.
yeah.
And it's always like, okay, so when they ask her, who's your niche? It's like, who
Right.
who were you a year ago? You
Right.
know?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Who
then
was the
that's
one?
who,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who needs it? Who I was the person, I am the person that I work with, right? That was a version of me at a certain point that I can now see in others. And I see it sometimes in friends or acquaintances.
Hmm.
And I'll say to them, I'll say, hey, I've got some stuff on my site. Or, and it's hard because, especially with family and friends, you don't want to, you're not like, hey, you come, let's do a call. You sit on the couch and you have these
Yeah.
sessions with them almost just as, in a passing conversation with a friend or in feedback that you give. You hold space.
Right. Right.
And man, I wish that I had had the knowing to sign up for a program them. So I'm hoping I can save individuals like myself, like who I was, a little bit of time of feeling disconnected
Hmm.
and uncertain and not knowing where to go. Right. I'm hoping that I've now created a path that can say, you might not be able to name it. It doesn't have a name,
Hmm.
but you know the feeling, right? You know that feeling. And if we can sit and have a 30-minute free consultation and we don't even still name it, but we talk about the 6 pillars of health and we talk about your habits and we talk about how you're feeling right now in your body, and you leave that conversation and you feel seen and heard, and like there is now a light, right? That you are the light in the tunnel that will be able to walk through. That is all this is meant to be. And I've done what I've meant to do, right?
Right.
And we will continue on the sessions and you will take agency of your life, right?
Hmm. Oh, that's awesome. When you were saying that, I know that another part of the niche story is, like I mentioned, you were that person a year ago.
Right.
You're evolving as we're going. What made you just plant your flag there? Because some people can't plant their flag because they know that they're going to be somewhere else in 2 years, and they got kind of a little resistance.
Right.
I've done it a million times, so I know exactly that feeling. Um, how do you explain that away too? To just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be here, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to let any of the future opportunities really distract me from helping who I can help at this very moment.
Interesting that you say that in 2 years from now, because I have no idea what's going to happen next year. I love that some people, we have this sense that I mean, I love it if you do, and please come talk to me. If we can foresee that future, that's a
Yeah,
wonderful. Now we
yeah.
have it's not fear of the unknown. This is a beautiful quote. It's the fear of the known. You have a projection of what you think that future is going to look like. Yes, you can have goals, you can have right actions and intention. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions line up, right, and you're putting that intention out there, yes, each block is right in front of you that you're going to step on and it's continuing to set itself, right? So I didn't know the path, but the path as I continued to put my intention, my actions, and my thoughts out there started to unravel in front of me, which became Balance of You Co., which became the coaching service, which now became TessaArnold.com, which became a book that I have out. I didn't know any of that. Had you told me I was going to be doing this 3 years ago, I would have said, okay, sure, but with an open mind. What I would ask everybody listening, have an open mind. If this is something that when you think about it, that when you feel it, when you create with it, when you're working on it, when you're putting together, it gives you energy and life. And you know it to be true because it's a contentment and a peacefulness and a fulfillment. And if it's something that you are passionate about and embody in your life, go for it.
Hmm.
Go for it and do it. You can do it in a very responsible way. Keep your job, keep whatever's paying the bills, but get this going. Let this be your hobby and your passion
Hmm.
until the point where it's running itself. So I think there's a very responsible way to go into it. But what we find ourselves doing, and I'm at fault of this too, right? We get so creative and we have all these ideas. And for those who don't know, Ayurvedic doshas, the composition of your body. I know mine very well. I'm what you would call a vata. I am high energy. I am moving all around. I could create and unravel a whole world by 9 o'clock in my mind if I'm sitting in bed in meditation. I still have the imagination that I had as a 5 year old. And sometimes it gets me a little bit of trouble because I assume and I can go off on these weird things. And I'm like, come back, come
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
But
yeah.
when you get into a creative flow and you're taking care of yourself, and there's a lot of self love there, you have a habit of really kind of having almost chaotic energy that goes out in all different ways. That's where you have to bring in resources, tools, mentorship, structure, coaching that helps you funnel it into something that's tangible that people can understand what you're giving them. People can understand why they need to call you and reach out to you, right? So focus, start to really focus, and this is going to create that success for you on who is your audience? Who are you connecting with? Who do you want to connect with? Who does this make the right sense to? And that's where your content's going to be going to. You don't even really need a website at this point in time with social media being what it is. They can DM you, you can connect. But whatever it is, you just need to focus on not having hundreds of thousand followers. Have 2,000 of the people that you are meant to connect with because that's going to drive people to you who can successfully take your program and start to implement it in their lives.
Hmm. Yeah, so what you were saying there remind me of obviously the marketing is component of the business,
Yeah.
right? So how did you really stumble upon who your market eventually was and what marketing strategies are did you incorporate in the beginning and are incorporating now?
Yeah, I'd say the why. It was definitely the why for me. Why am I doing this and who am I doing this for? And ultimately, I was doing it. And I think, as a health coach, a wellness coach, you have to have lived this to a certain degree, right? Because it's not scripted. I mean, my story is my story, and it's, we all are united in hardships. Um, but I believe in this fundamentally, and it's not a one size fits all. It's a personalized prescription with my clients, but the way that it impacts their life, um, there's a money back guarantee because it's going to, and within a week, within a couple days. So I'd have to say for me, really getting into that, and for all the health coaches out there, is it something that you are passionately living, right? Is it something that you believe in? And then I'd say from a marketing aspect, talk to people, right? Talk to people, connect with people, have mentors, have coaches, reach out to me, reach out to you. Let's start to bridge those gaps. Don't be afraid if you are on any of the socials and you see somebody who's emanating exactly what you want to be doing, to reach out to them and connect with them. They probably have coaching programs. If you like what they see, follow them. Don't be discouraged, right?
Mhm.
By that. Be encouraged by that. There are 8 billion people in the world, right? We all need support and connection and help in different ways. There are your group of people who need you in just the way that you do it. But we can't go for the 8 billion right off the bat. And that's a mistake even I made.
Mhm.
Generic, big messaging, trending, this and that. It needed to be more specialized to who are the people that I need to connect with, right? Who are those people who I want to be able to support on this journey and connect with and walk along. And that's, it's helped me fundamentally since then even start a secondary business, which is tessarnold.com, which I do group coaching, and we step into the gap and we really try to uncover what is your niche? What is it that, what's your chapter two? What is it that you're supposed to be doing? Because there was such a hunger for this. And it's, you feel you don't want to connect and sign up for that 30-day risk-free, just, I don't know. Sometimes that can be a little intimidating. You don't want to do it, but have conversations with people.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah.
So you're sliding into the business world a little bit too, as far as business coaching.
Right. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely come into that as I'm doing my own coaching, but it's more in the sense of not necessarily, we can work to scale business, but at the same time, it's that imposter syndrome feeling, the identity feeling, it's a guided sessions, 6 session. The group coaching is 6-part session where we guide you to really step into, I call step into the gap, which is the space in between thoughts. We have over 6,000 thoughts a day. Through neuroplasticity, we have the ability to find this incredible powerhouse, which is the space in between thoughts. So we can step into that and we can tap into self and we can really ask and figure out and unwind from poor habits, self-doubt, confusion as to what it is that we are meant to be doing and want to be doing. And it's kind of a gift to walk away with that clarity.
No, yeah, yeah. I see a lot of myself in you
Yeah.
because it seems interesting that definitely started hardcore health coaching,
Yeah.
specifically about sugar addictions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because that was my story.
Right.
And, like, it gets not that it's old. I don't want to say it like that, but you live that life for so long,
Right.
it's second nature to you. And then
Right.
the business part of it is the thing that's fascinating. That's why I have you on the podcast, pick your brain about like what you
Right.
experience in business. So it seems like you've had kind of a similar path where
Yeah.
it's like, wow, this is a new thing that's my thing now. Like, why not
Right.
share that element as well? Because you feel
Yeah, and you got to grow into it. Let yourself grow into it. It's like a brand new suit. We'll take it back. So you can hear my banking world who wears suits. Or it's like I loved my suits, by the way. So it's a custom brand new suit that's just a little bit bigger. So it's like now you have this much larger dream and you need to grow into it because you haven't been dreaming big enough. And dreaming this big is so intimidating and scary. Yes, it is. We are all there with you. Anybody listening, we are there with you. It is scary for both of us, I would imagine, because you're taking yourself out of your comfort zone. And we have the capabilities to dream as big as we want to because it takes the same energy to dream small or dream big,
yeah.
right? Same amount of energy. But the difference is that you have to understand that the only limitations we put on ourselves are by ourselves. Nobody else is doing it. Who says you can't do it? Because trust me, you can.
Mhm.
But it takes somebody having this conversation with you once a week or twice a week, right? Because we all know that we need it. And it's also refocusing and making sure we're staying on the right course, right? We need accountability partners and we need that. And allow this to kind of grow and unravel, especially from a business perspective. Stick with it.
Mhm. So I guess to wrap, because I always promise to guess 30 to 40 minutes, and we shot
Yeah.
that there already, which is a good sign. What do you think was your major limiting belief
Mm.
that you had to overcome to get you to the next level?
Yeah, it's definitely for me, and it has been it's funny because we have to say it in present tense because limiting beliefs are always going to be there as you expand. They're just going to shift and change, and you need to hear them, right? You need to hold space for them. So I think it's probably self-doubt. I think many of us have. We live in a world now where we're not just seeing and interacting with the 100 people in our neighborhoods. It's thousands of people out there, and you see things and it can be intimidating. You can feel small in a very big world. And it takes time. So I think for me, it was definitely and has been it's refocusing that self-doubt, understanding where the doubt's coming from, and then understanding fundamentally that those limits that I've placed are not real. It's a self-preservation. when I'm totally and fully capable of doing whatever it is that I can dream of, and so is everybody else. So for anybody else who might have this self-doubt when you're thinking of that dream or embarking on that business venture or getting into health coaching, let's go ahead. Let's talk with that self-doubt. Let's listen to it. And then let's realize that you are the one who puts the limits, that you are fully and completely capable, and you are unique. There is nobody else in the world who thinks, speaks, acts just like you, and we need to hear from you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. So you've been fantastic, Tessa.
You know,
I just want to give you an opportunity now at this point to let us know all the good stuff that you're doing, how we can keep up with what you're doing, with including the website, social media handles, any way we can keep up with what's new in your world. And yeah, if you have anything else to leave as far as a nugget for the audience, we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a book that's coming out, Step into the Gap. So watch for that, if this interests you. And then you can find me at tessaarnold.com, which is going to link you up to everything else. Balanceofyou.com for the Ayurvedic coaching. Come check me on the socials, Tessa Arnold. Find me on all the platforms and reach out. I love connecting with everybody. I obviously love talking, when we're having great, beautiful conversations. My knowledge is not private. I will share it, anything, and be, as you've heard on this call, super vulnerable and honest with you. So if you want to hear about some of the times I stumbled, reach out. If you want to just, vibe on the phone and figure out what's going on with your work, we could totally do that too. So yeah, connect.
Appreciate that. Well, Tessa, again, thanks for being on the show. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Take care. Appreciate it.
Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.